real quick, I want to show you the difference between the voltage regulator I'm taking off and the one I'm putting on. What's up, guys, and welcome back to another video. Well, today we're tearing into the bike because yesterday I went out riding and it just died on me. I actually had to get it towed back home, and once I did a few tests and my assumptions were correct. I was hoping it was not going to be the Stator, but after doing a few tests, it ended up being the Stator. So I'm not too thrilled about that, but luckily it happened this weekend because next weekend I have some major plans going on. So hopefully all the parts come in. So I do have a Stator coming in and a voltage regulator. You don't want to put a new Stator on there and the voltage regulator have problems and cause the Stator to go out and just a whole cycle of problems going on. So it's just good practice just to replace both components and eliminate that problem altogether. So I do got to move the bike from the garage over to the shop. So we're about to do that, and today it's just getting it torn apart so that way when the parts come in we can put it back together and save some time. Well, everything is off the bike except for the voltage regulator, 2 bolts, and a connector, and that comes right off. Get that off in a little bit, just before the new part comes in. But everything else had to come off, so that way when the new parts come in, it makes it less work during the week of putting this thing back together, because I'm hoping everything ships tomorrow, and I can put this thing back together for next weekend. But the inner primary did have to come off because the magnet for the Stator will not go past that lip. I've heard of people grinding on the inner primary to get the magnet off. I ain't doing that, because you start grinding on that inner primary just to get that magnet off, you make that metal weaker and prone to something happening like a rock coming up or anything and causing your inner primary to leak. I'm not doing that. I'd rather just pull the inner primary, but I know the bolts are still good. I'm just replacing the washers that go on them because I just replaced those bolts last time I had it apart. But with those bolts being practically new, I know they're still good. Just replace the washers. But the Stator that came off of it is not stock. It's a cycle electric. Just looking at the Stator, I couldn't really tell much, but it does look a little burnt in some spots. But the test is what's going to really tell you if you need a new Stator. I think that Stator held up really well in my opinion. Something like 12 years it's been on the bike, 80,000 miles, so that's not bad in my opinion. What sucks is literally the timing of it going out, but that's how things happen sometimes. But the good thing is it happened early enough this weekend, literally Friday, and today is Sunday, so that way I could order the part, get everything torn apart, make it easier during the week. But you know, 80,000 miles, 12 years, and it's not a stock Stator. So I think it held up really well. Just really kind of stinks in my opinion because I do want to make next weekend. But I'm not going to put just the new stator on with the old regulator, even though that regulator's only been on there for a year. So I did replace that one last year, but I'm afraid the stator might have caused problems to the voltage regulator, and then putting the new stator on the voltage regulator might cause problems to the stator, and then it's just a whole cycle of events going on. So if both parts do not come in time, I am not making next weekend. But let's jump to when the parts come in, and you guys have to find out if I make that event. The new stator just came in, guys. I'm excited because it's looking like we're gonna make this event this upcoming weekend. Let me show you the old stator compared to the new one. So there's the old one that just came out, and comparing it to the new one, this one does look a little burnt. It's been in there 12 years, so it served its purpose, but definitely can tell a difference in the coloring between the new one and the old one. So now let's start putting everything back together, so that way that's one less thing. Now the voltage regulator has not come in yet. That will be in shortly. But again, that's 2 bolts and 2 plugs, real simple to put on. But I was more nervous about the stator coming in because that's a lot more work to be done than just putting on a voltage regulator. So let's get busy. That's a tight fit too, but you don't want no oil leaking through there. Best to run that wire first instead of putting the stator on. Make it a whole lot easier to run that wire. Get it all the way ran through. There we go. Alright, as you can see, that way it has no leaks. When removing it, I just cut the wires, makes it easier instead of having to pull all that back out and that plug. The last thing you want is that thing leaking. Now it comes with new hardware and it has a little bit of Loctite already on there, so you don't have to add any. Get this thing all lined up. Replacing the washers so that way it doesn't leak. So I highly recommend at least replacing the washers on these and not using the old ones. As you see, guys, I'm only running 4 bolts when there's 5. I went ahead and cut the backside off because my chain was rubbing and plugged it. Because I didn't have the ability to take it to a welder right now, as you see, guys, I'm only using 4 bolts instead of 5 because I plugged it. I actually cut the standoff off on the backside because my chain was rubbing it. I didn't want it to rub through and leak, so I went ahead and plugged it, put red Loctite and JB weld on the backside to reinforce it. So that way I know it's good to go. I just didn't have the time or ability to take it to a welder. Primary is all back together, guys. I'm excited. So I'm out of the woodworks now, or I think so. But I've had my battery charged in my lithium ion. I took it out Friday night when I got the bike back and threw a battery that had some charge in it just so I could run the test on the stator and the voltage regulator to see what was going on and to see what parts I needed. So I got to change that out. Plus, with taking the battery out, I could charge it, make sure it came back to life, and the battery tender is showing it good. So I do want to swap that back out. It has more cold cranking amps in it, and it's lighter, so it makes it easier to get in and out when there's a problem. So I do like the lithium ion battery. So that's going to be a pain. I got to hook up a strap to get that battery out of the bike. Now to show you guys some tests you can run on an old Stator. This one being new, I know it's good, but it wouldn't hurt to test it out just to make sure, even though it's new. But first thing is doing a continuity test. So set it where it has the little wavelength. This one will make a sound if there's continuity. So find a good bolt on the engine and make sure, see no change. No sound. Make sure you're getting all the way up in there where it's touching the metal. So that's all good. Because if it wasn't, it'd make a little sound like that and change. So no change there. So I know that's good. Now we're going to test the resistance, setting our multimeter to ohms and testing each one of these. Alright, and see too, you want to test the resistance of your multimeter. Just touch the two prongs. Real quick, I want to show you the difference between the voltage regulator I'm taking off and the one I'm putting on. I'm putting the ecletric to match my Stator, and you can see a big difference where you could actually take the back end off of this one, but this one is completely sealed. But if you look at the front, just the milling, the fins, it looks a lot more robust than the one I'm taking off. A lot more cooling fins, a lot more surface. So this one should stay a little bit cooler and helping the internal components stay cooler, so that way it doesn't overheat like the one I'm taking off. So let's get this one on. Oh heck yeah, guys. She starts, she sounds good, and she's charging. So I have no worries about hitting the road for this upcoming event, knowing that my bike ain't gonna die on me on the side of the road. Now, not saying something else couldn't happen, but at least the charging system is working. The battery is charging, so that way I can go down the road, listen to my radio, charge my phone, and not have to worry about the bike dying on me. And that just stinks when that happens. But sometimes it just does. But we are good to go. So I hope you guys have a good one. And I'll see you guys next time.